NXT took place tonight in Orlando, Florida from the WWE Performance Center. The show is back home from where it was last week, which was in New York City at Madison Square Garden. And obviously, to no one's surprise, this wasn't as good of a show because last week was what I still believe is the best episode of NXT of all time for a television episode. This couldn't live up to that. But for a Performance Center show, it had its moments. However, I thought it was such a drop-off that it kind of took me out of it. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ahead or before the New York show, I think I would have liked it more. Just the scale felt so much down from last week. It just kind of hurt the show a bit for me. But they recapped NXT Roadblock last week. Then you have Stephanie Vecker, Trick Williams, Eddie Thorpe, and Ricky Saints all arriving at Performance Center for tonight's show. We started the show off with the Women's United States Championship being on the line with Chelsea Green defending her title against Sol Ruca. And it's the match happened because 2 weeks ago Sol Ruca pinned Chelsea Green in a tag team match in NXT. Here, I think we all know who would win. It was more so of trying to give Sol a good opponent here. I think was a showcase for her. She was never going to win, but they want her feature because they clearly have plans for her on the main roster. I think she has a lot of potential, and it was just okay. Chelsea Green, to be honest, isn't the best worker. She's very entertaining as a heel champion. She has a good gimmick. I like the whole new American type of thing she has, and especially with the Secret Service agents that are being played by Piper Niven and now Alba Fire, two Scottish Secret Service people. And Chelsea's entertaining, but she's not the best worker. She's very average in her ring, to be honest. And Sol, really talented, but she's the right person. I mean, the match she had last with Kalani, I love that match. Her and Kalani Jordan, I think at one of the NXT PLEs in the summer. This, however, it was just okay. Chelsea got the win with her unprettier finish. Backstage, Trick Williams is upset. Javon Evans is saying him and Trick were on NXT, and Trick got upset with him. Then you have Lexis King come in. He's after Trick leaves, Javon Evans, he says something to Javon Evans. He gets slapped by him. We have Stephanie Vecker heading to the ring as the double champion. We see the family pumped up backstage for their match with the Culling, and Tony D'Angelo wasn't going to come out with them. And they made that quite clear because what they were doing was they made the decision for D'Angelo staying back, and they're trying to save him. I know the explanation, but they really want you to think, and maybe they're going in this decision where Stax is sabotaging D'Angelo, and there's going to be a coup against him or something, or maybe he's the part of the new group, whatever they call themselves. I actually have a name for them, but we'll talk about them later. Anyway, then we see Stephanie Vecker make her entrance. She gets on a mic and says that her English is still developing, and actually, that's not what she said. She said, English is not my first language, wrestling is. That I got a nice pop. She talks about how she always wants to go to NXT, and that plays off an interview she did with Busted Open Radio when she said that WWE offered her to either go straight to the main roster or go to NXT, and she chose NXT, and boy, I think she made the right decision because on the main roster right now, especially during WrestleMania season, she could have easily been lost in the shuffle. She made the right decision here. She then says she wants a new opponent, and she wants her opponent to look her in the eyes. Now, no mention of Julia. So then we have Jordan Grace. She answers a call, and she's ready to take the challenge, and all of a sudden she just gets jumped by Jada Parker, and she becomes an afterthought. Jada just lays her out. Jada gets in the ring, and she just cuts a great promo on Stephanie Vecker. She's saying, I'm looking right into your eyes, and she's really intense here. Jada Parker's easily the best woman on the mic in NXT, not even close. Really good promo, and that's the match next week. And no mention of Julia at all. So I'm thinking Julia, we're not going to see her for a while. It's a shame she's not going to be at Sin Liver because it doesn't look like it right now. I can't believe that. But I'm guessing Julia, she didn't look injured at all with her match with Steffi last week. It was a very good match. I think it's probably a visa issue. It might take a while for her to get resolved, but eventually she'll be back. But it's a good thing Stephanie's as over as she is, though. So there's that. Hank and Tank are backstage, hyped up for the match. They just remind me so much of Heavy Machinery, the Otis and Tucker group. That's all I can really think of when I see Hank and Tank. Then you have Briggs and Uemura against Hank and Tank. Briggs and Uemura got them in a very sloppy match. Not a fan. Did not like this. We see the family heading to the ring, as is Culling. Backstage, Eddie Thorpe is talking to Ridge Holland. The two heels all the fans hate the most. Then we get a 6-person tag team match, just the family and the Culling. So it's 2 men, 1 woman on each team. It was okay, an okay match. The family is an NXT act. They were the best act. The Culling is also almost an NXT act. It's just Sean Spears. He's never going back to the main roster. What happened is we see backstage that the group I refer to as, giving them this nickname, Retribution 2.0. They attacked the Dawn backstage. This distracted the family to see what's going on the screen. And it's funny because you can see Adriana is trying to tell the other two, hey, go look after him, go to the back. And they're not moving. Then the Culling attacks them, and they get the win there. And that's what cost the family the match. I'm thinking to myself, I don't give a shit. I don't want to see the Culling or them feud with the family anymore. I guess that's over. And I certainly don't want to see the family feud for Retribution. Retribution sucks. We see, Retribution 2.0. Backstage, Stephanie Becker is talking to Ava. And they're interrupted by Fallon Henley. So what happens is Fallon basically gets the great babyface, the goody two shoes, fight them all at any time, anywhere. Babyface Stephanie Becker to agree to defend both her titles next week on the same night. Okay, I get it. Stephanie's a badass, but it kind of makes it just look like Fallon, the heel, was just so easily manipulating the babyface. It almost made Stephanie look stupid. Anyway, that's what happens here. She was insulting her, and she really wanted the match. And it's next week, so what's going to happen is Stephanie Becker has to defend her NXT Women's Championship against Jada Parker, and she will also defend her NXT Women's North American Championship against the former champion Fallon Henley next week. Karen Petrovich is out for a match, hopefully the last time with Ashanti. They show highlights of what happened with Choni D'Angelo. So he was attacked as he was beaten up badly backstage by Retribution 2.0. Then he had Karen Petrovich against JC Jane. JC is backed up by her Fatal Influence partners. That's Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix. Who I guess her nose is healed now. She should be able to wrestle again soon. The loser Ashanti, he hands Carmen a chair. She pushes it away, and she's basically turning babyface there. And I'm thinking, oh, perfect. Please turn on that fucking loser. Then Carmen, unfortunately, gets pinned by JC Jane, so JC gets the win. And she's upset with Ashanti. Wesley and his group are backstage. They make fun of Hank and Tank. I just don't care about these guys at all. We see Ricky Staines. I almost called him Ricky Starks. I was meant Staines, but Ricky Staines, he's out for a match. Then we go backstage and we see Jada Parker cutting a promo on her match next week with Stephanie Becker for the NXT Women's Championship, and she's doing a good job. As I said earlier, Jada Parker's the best promo for the woman in NXT. It's not even really close. She just does a great job. She's very confident. She talked with a lot of conviction, and this was really good. The better thing, and that's saying something because it was a good promo, the better part of this was we got to see Carmen Petrovich in the background, and she's seemingly dumping Ashanti Adonis. I'm thinking to myself, yes, thank the heavens, the worst storyline in the history of NXT is finally over. Ashanti's a fucking loser. Should be fired. Carmen has a lot of potential. She can be a star. I don't know if she's at the level of some of these other women in the women's division, and she's obviously not going to get to the level of Stephanie Becker or Julia, but someone like Jada Parker, she can get potentially to that level. Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruka. I think Karen Petrovich has a lot of potential. She has an athletic background, and please let this be permanent. Dump that loser. I'm sorry, I don't mean to attack the guy personally, but Ashanti is a loser. Dump him. I think I'm starting to believe Shawn Michaels might be listening to my show. Never know. I am so happy this storyline seemingly is over. He had Ricky Saints and Ridge Holland. Ricky won. We all knew he would. Ridge Holland sucks. They show Tony D'Angelo getting jumped again. And then we see Retribution 2.0 talk. They take off their skull masks. Those Aces and Eights masks or the Shield masks they wore that one WrestleMania 30 when they made that entrance. They have to wear those stupid skull masks, but they take them off. They talk. I don't give a shit about any four of these guys. They're all big. They're all tall. I don't give a fuck. They preview next week's show, and Stephanie Vaquer, it's announced by, I think it was Vic Joseph, that she's going to open the show when she defends her NXT Women's Championship against Jada Parker, and then she will main event next week when she defends her NXT Women's North American Championship against Fallon Henley. So, heavy workload for Stephanie Vaquer. I really think she probably loses at least one of the belts, but it's hard to determine which one, and maybe she's not, because I think about this. She should not, in no way, shape, or form, lose the NXT Women's Championship 2 weeks after winning it from Julia. She should not lose to Jada Parker, and she should not lose to Fallon Henley, because I really think Fallon Henley is going to the main roster. If Fallon was going to stay in NXT, I would say, yeah, you could protect Stephanie because she wrestled once, and maybe she gets attacked or something after the match. She loses to Fallon Henley, and Fallon can be NXT Women's North American champion again. That's fine. But Fallon's going to the main roster, I assume, after WrestleMania. So I think Stephanie probably walks out next week as a double champion once again. I think that makes sense. Now, they also announced it's Lexis King and Javon Evans. And then we go backstage. Kelly Kincaid interviews Ricky Stanton after a singles win. He's interrupted by the culling, and he has this funny back and forth by Izzy in which she says you came up small, and then basically Ricky says he comes up big, and he references it's what you think. He's saying he has a big dick, whatever. We have Eddie Thorpe and Trick Williams, NXT Underground. I thought this was okay. I'm not a huge fan of the NXT Underground gimmick. I feel like it's kind of run its course. I don't mind it when it's used with two people who have MMA backgrounds, because I think last year they had a match with Lola Vice, who's never on TV anymore, it seems like, and Shayna Baszler, and I actually really like that. Here, it just seemed like a street fight, like a brawl. None of these guys really have MMA backgrounds. You had a cool spot where Eddie slams Trick Williams through the announce booth, and that was cool because I figured out that NXT, I just noticed this, they don't have the new announce booths. Raw and SmackDown have the new updated modern announce booths. NXT, it's still the old school one, so you can still slam them through it, and I thought that was a cool spot. I also noticed that in NXT, you see, because the venue's smaller, that the announce booth is really close to the ring, and that actually helped the match a bit because they actually could do that a lot quicker. You know, if they're doing kind of a street fight, or not a street fight, like an underground with a bigger arena, it's a bit hard to do stuff on the outside because the ring is further from the announce booth. But here, it actually worked better. And again, it's more of an intimate setting. You have, the one thing I really don't really care for is why do you have to have all these people outside? I think you don't need that. I think in some ways that takes away from it. You don't need it to have all these. I think it's at Evolve guys, I'm pretty sure, on the outside. I think it needs to have that, but they did. Anyway, Trick won. He hit him with a TKO. He hit the Trick shot. He pounds on Eddie Thorpe, and it's a TKO win. And after the match, Trick calls out Obafemi for a match in the liver, and they're about to fight when Obafemi comes out. However, we see the Retribution guys in the crowd, and then Javon Evans tries to help them out. He stands with them, and then Trick gets upset with him. Obafemi gets mad. It turns out into a brawl. All these people get in the ring. Eventually, Javon Evans lays out Obafemi with a cutter, and then it ends with a stare down with Trick Williams and Javon Evans. It was a weird ending. It sets up a triple threat. And they previewed next week's show once again, and that was NXT this week. Yeah, couldn't live up to last week, obviously, but they did a good job in some ways of building up next week. It's really going to be the Stephanie Vaquer show next week, so we'll see what happens there. But Yeah, I was not a huge fan of the show tonight. I'm not going to lie.